Aha! Live early, just to surprise you all. And in fact, since there's none of you yet here, oh, I wonder if I can do that in time. Just put a, where's this blank one? Let's see if I can do this. Let's see. Not quite. Oh, there's 3 of you here now. I was gonna get myself a glass of wine. But now you all showed up early as well. Hello, Chad. Chad won't mind. Chad, you tell them. That's it. You tell them. The Kurgan is gonna get a glass of wine. I'll open it here with you, boys. And I'm back. I lied about opening it in front of you because this is a Tavernello delle Venezie. So it's a very light, sparkly kind of, when I say sparkly, it's just fizzy, a little bit fizzy. Pinot from Venice. And you need to drink this chilled. It's just no good otherwise. LS16, Hail Kurgan's chair. That's the sort of devotion I could get used to. The Inquisitor is getting a glass of wine. We'll be back soon. Hello, Caleb, Slanty Chauffeur, and Chad. Well, I was gonna tell you guys a bunch of little funny stories about the little Viking, but man, like life's such a blur. I don't even remember what it was I wanted to tell. Oh, that's what it was. So the sheds have been leaking in the storm, so I've basically not redone, I didn't take it off, but I did like a roof on top of a roof sort of thing with like this gunk that like seals everything, and you have to basically paint the stuff down, then you put this like material on it, and then you paint it again, and it's got like a 10-year warranty or whatever, but it's just messy to work with. You gotta use gloves, and whatever you paint it in with you can just throw away when you're done. And anyway, while I was what I used to do, that there's like some, that guy left so much crap around. There was some this material that you use on top of roofs to like seal them off. There was a lot of leftover second-handed one of that, and I thought, well, I'm just going to use a bit of that. But it was attached to, got one. Still got it. Mosquitoes here are vicious and very quick and clever. They duck and dive and they hide with the background. But this one didn't make it. Anyway, so we've got this like piece of foam insulation that had the stuff on it. So I was just ripping it off and lifting these bits of insulation, and I lifted one, and there must have been a million ants. Like, honestly, it was like hundreds of thousands of these big black ants just all over the place. Now the Chinese stink bugs are coming back, and the boy, he doesn't discriminate like his dad. He seems to hate all these bugs equally. So when I pulled off the thing, there was so many, I actually called my daughter to say, hey, check this out. And she was like, ew. And then I said, no, call the little dude, because he's going to enjoy watching this. Because he's not scared of bugs or anything. So he came there and he's like, yeah, oh, stink bugs. And I said, no, they're ants, but, it's kind of a bug. It's a buggy. Yeah, it's a bug. And then I went doing my thing, and then like, he was quite far down, where this stuff was. So I'm working, I'm doing my thing, and I just hear like, doom, 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 doom. He's just tapping away at something. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Is he jumping up and down? He usually like jumps on that stuff, and there's a bunch of old crap there. I've sort of made it a bit safe, but there's probably still some wood with a nail sticking out of it or something. There's some glass doors which I had to cover with stuff. So I'm thinking he's probably just jumping on the insulation, which is fine. But I just heard it. Must have been at least a good half hour straight. Then I went down there. It's just getting dark now, and it's a bit cold now. So I went down there and I was like, what are you doing, boy? And he's there with this little piece of wood just hammering away at the insulation. And I'm like, what are you doing, boy? And he goes, look, Dad, I killed the stink bugs. He literally had murdered every ant that he could see, and that was basically every ant that I could see. And, a lot of them had run away and whatever, but he mushed the crap out of them, and then he was like looking around. Oh, there's still one, and he went after them. And I was kind of pissing myself laughing, but I just kind of kept it in. Like, what you doing, man? Like, kill the stink bugs, Dad! Kill the stink bugs! Then he like looks around. There's still one a bit twitching, still half dead. Nails it. Looks around again, goes, all dead, Dad. All dead. I was like really proud. I was like, oh, well done, boy. I mean, they're ants, but okay. Would have been better if they were stink bugs, but just the way he did it. It's like, went to his mother and I told her, like, yeah, he's definitely my son, except without any qualms. When I was his age, I still had some qualms about murdering little animals. Clearly, he got your bad DNA too and doesn't have any qualms whatsoever. He just kills them. Cheers, Greeny Houdini. What are you drinking? Don't you tell me you don't booze. I know you do. Yeah. So that was, I don't know, that just cracked me up. But he's doing like funny things every day. He is really, truly a little Viking, though. He's destructor. I had to be in a pretty formal office today at some point, and he was with me because my wife twisted her. The last few days have just been, we had like a really important meeting at the house. I had this other thing I had to do like in a pretty official sort of place, and she twisted her ankle last night. The dishwasher hasn't worked for 2 days, and the boiler packed up last night as well. So it was just apple juice. It's called that's called cider, dear. But okay. So that's Greenie saying she drinks apple juice. Yeah, I know what that goes like. So yeah, it was just kind of hellish. And luckily the boiler was something really easy to fix, and a guy came over, like a cool dude. He's like an electrician. He came down here before and he helped me out for nothing. So I gave him like $20 just to say thanks. And then the guy of the dishwasher managed to fix that. And then we had the meeting here that I needed to have. But before then, in the morning, I had to go and have a meeting in town, and I brought the little dude with just because, the wife was struggling a bit. I didn't know. I let her sleep in, so I didn't know if her ankle was any better or not. Because like last night, she was like in a lot of pain. So she was thinking, oh, maybe I've broken it or fractured something. And I thought, I don't know, I don't think so. But and she was fine by the morning. But I didn't know that, so I took the little dude with me, and I'm like in this guy, in this guy's office, trying to have a pretty serious conversation, and he's just losing his fucking mind. He's like going everywhere, like T-Rex, 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 Daddy. He like wants me to play the T-Rex. I'm like, dude, just quit. He like looks at the desk, and there's the guy's car keys there. Keys, Daddy. Quickly like grabbed hold of him, and I'm like, dude, quiet now, right? So he was like, oh, okay, Daddy. And he like kind of like managed to hold it in for a little bit, but as soon as we were out, then he was just, which is fine, I don't mind running after him in the street and that, but he's just, luckily, the other guy was pretty good. People in Italy like kids generally, and he was like pretty like, he was like, and I'm like, yeah, sorry, man, but now you know why I took him here. And he goes, because if I leave him alone, she's got another two there, and one's in school, but the other two are like just going crazy. So yeah, so that couple of little stories about him. The little one is getting really hilariously funny as well, because she's starting to walk now. She's starting to like stumble around, and for whatever reason, she's like a little carbon copy of her brother. She's like a year and a half younger, but she's doing the same stuff he was doing at the same time. She started to slap the table, but she's a very good-natured kid. Unlike him, she's got a low pain threshold. Anything that hurts her, she's like, ah, gets really pissed off about it. So she was playing with the vacuum cleaner, which was my son's like favorite toy. And then she was trying to switch it on and off and on and off. And I'm like just sitting there, it's not plugged in, so it's like, yeah, it's all right. You can mess around with it while I'm quickly trying to eat a bite. And she turns around and goes, Daddy, plug it in. I'm like, what? you don't really talk like that yet, do you? Plug it in. Like, my God. But she does that. She like repeats. She's really good with words, but she doesn't always say them. She just like randomly comes out with stuff. So that's been funny, and she really is. She is funny. She's just got a really cool sense of humor. Thanks. That my audio level is good. I've plugged in the microphone. That's good if it's working well. AJ says, I wish I could help. I'm an HVAC technician. Boilers, furnaces, and AC is my trade. Dude, you'll make a killing if you come live in Italy. There's a lot of that shit out here, and all weird ones, old ones, all sorts. Greenie says, I finally have a day off. I slept in. Yeah, I don't think I've slept in for a long time. I think the last time I slept in was probably sometime in 2016 when I was living by myself in Venice. Beautiful city. Hello, Douglas. So yeah, and go ahead and suggest some topics if you want, because I'm free flowing today. You can see there's a bunch of crap in the background there, and that's because I've got a sort of a wardrobe type thing that's gonna go in here in the corner. The map's up, but I need to trim the little backing to it, which is holding it in place. Slowly things are taking shape. I need to paint the kids' room and finish painting the whole kitchen lounge area, but one thing at a time. Douglas says, my son hunts bugs. If a bug has entered his house, he will find a weapon of any kind and hunt it until it's dead. Then he celebrates after the kill. He's a good boy. And Greenie says, Hail Kurgan! There you go. Told you, that cider must be pretty strong stuff. What else? There's just a lot of stuff happening, but mostly just busy work, paperwork, and all sorts of random things. a friend of mine might come visit in, I don't know, January, February, March, something. Uh-huh. Dancers with Logo says, we seem to be experiencing similar life circumstances to be expected for twin flames, I suppose. Indeed. So, what else happened? Let me just think. Oh, I think I told you guys already, like we had this huge storms that like washed out part of the drive. So I had to concrete some of that back in. I bought some extra concrete because we got, like, my wife ordered this huge, like, you know, umbrella for like shade and stuff. This was back in summer, but it's massive, you know. It's like, it's really great and it's a strong one, but the thing is, there's no way to hold it up, you know. It's not like something you can put in a little, one of those like foot holder things, you know, like a little bit of concrete that's about that. I mean, you need to dig a hole, put a proper pipe hole, you know, pipe thing down to hold it. So that's going to be the next little project. I got to put the speakers up in the lounge. So I've cut out all the wood for it and whatever. It's just one of those things. I need to move a bunch of stuff because the books are already there. Then the dust is going to get made when I drill the holes in the wall. So yeah, it's just, it's endless. But enough about the DIY stuff. Let's think, what else? Oh yeah, olive season. I need to start picking the olives. Luckily, the old man told me what to do. I bought a net, but kind of useless because the way my olive trees are, you know, like olive tree nets, you need to like have basically a 5-meter radius cleared around each tree to be able to use those things properly. And while we have cleared around the trees, we haven't cleared to that extent and, you know, really well, you know, should like an English sort of garden, you know, the little grass like that. We're not there at all. I mean, we're kind of like, yeah, you can see each other across the field. That means most of the grass is gone and some of the tall shrubbery. So, yeah, it's going to be a long year. Hopefully I get some olives and make some oil out of them. You need to have, wait, I need to translate a word to tell you how much you need before the mill takes it to like mush it into oil. Let's just see. I think that's like 100 kilos if I remember right, but I think you need like I don't want to lie. I can't remember if it must be. Okay, what does that say? It's just giving me the translation, but oh, come on, piss off. Yeah, so it's you need the 1/4 ton, I think, at least, before they make some oil out of it. And let's see, 1/4 ton of olives gives you, roughly speaking, about maybe 20 liters of oil, something like that. And Dancer says that she loves the Zachariah Sitchin info on the digital Kurganet. Zachariah Sitchin is an interesting guy. He wrote some interesting books. I think in some of them he goes overboard, but there's definitely some really true stuff in. Green Udini says, I was telling my friend Kurgan I found another Kurgan that's a total badass. What? There can only be one Greenie Houdini. What the hell are you talking about? Bring me his head. So, yeah. Yeah, the Sitchin stuff on... there's a bunch of Sitchin stuff. But on the Old Testament, one of the very interesting bits about the Old Testament is that, you know, there's parts of the Old Testament that are clearly taken from the older Chaldean myths about Gilgamesh and flying machines and so on. And there are etymologically from the ancient Hebrew, for example, the Nephilim comes from a root that refers to like the sky fallen ones or something like that, if I remember right. It's in The Face on Mars. I wrote that 26 years ago, and I kind of let it go after a while. So I don't want to say the wrong thing. I think that's what it is. But there's etymologically quite a lot of interesting stuff. And what Sitchin did, he is a guy that studied for many years to be able to read Babylonian scripts and like cuneiform scripts and so on. And he translated some of these things quite a little bit. Yeah, McGreen sort of nailed them, extraterrestrial gods. But there's a lot more to this stuff than you think. It's like, oh, the ancient astronauts theory of Eric van Daniken. To his credit, Eric van Daniken also said, look, every circus needs a clown to attract people in. I'm that clown. Because people said to him, but you like went overboard. You said some things that were untrue. You were like, sort of blowing things up out of proportion, making claims that weren't factual. And he's like, but at least I started the whole point about the astronaut theory, ancient astronaut theory. And there is a lot of valid stuff about ancient astronaut theory. So, yeah, I cover some of that in the digital Kurganet stuff. And Dancer says, I used to be very interested in that. I'm still shocked that Graham Hancock plagiarized you, but I'm glad we ended up on the same path, Catholicism. Yeah, well, I was very interested in this stuff too, yeah. And yes, Graham Hancock did plagiarize my book, The Face on Mars. You can verify it for yourself, because at the back of the book, of his book, he just says The Face on Mars, but he he says he read the book, but he kind of like tries to pretend like he doesn't know the printing house or who wrote it or something. And like when I met him face to face, and was like, dude, why don't you give credit when you take other people's work? He was like, oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't me. I had ghostwriters. I didn't even write that book. And I was like, yeah, whatever, dude. And I did have my girlfriend at the time standing next to me. So I have witnesses, including the guy who organized the talk. Because when I said, oh, I'm just going to go talk to Graham, he was like, oh, no, you can't just have VIP. I said, no, you just stand over there. Graham knows exactly who I am. And I just walked through the line and I went right up to him. So it was sort of like, the usual Kurgan skips the line, jumps to the front and goes, why'd you steal my shit, man? In front of everybody. And they were all just like, including him. So it was quite satisfying. My brother, of course, I'm kind of glad he wasn't there, because he would have lost his shit. When, not only that one, but then when the film came out with, is it Gary Sinise in it? I can't remember. Where it's about The Face on Mars, anyways. And my brother was watching it with me in the cinema, and he was like, you should sue them! He was like losing his fucking mind. And I was like, dude, I don't care. It's like, it's fine. Like, the idea's out there now. It's okay. And you're like, no! He just couldn't handle it. But yeah. And Dante says that all of my interests are covered on your site. Well, maybe not all of them yet. I mean, there's still some stuff coming. Yeah, so the Trivium, that was interesting actually, because on Social Galactic, there's no more flame wars. All the Protestants in there have learned to leave the Kurgan alone and give him his space, or just block him and hide from him. But there's still the odd like chirping about, and education and so on. Well, the Trivium is a Catholic thing about, that teaches a methodology of learning, which includes grammar, logic, and rhetoric. Now, grammar doesn't mean language. The grammar is the language of the topic. So, for example, in linguistics, grammar is the rules of the language, right? But grammar in shipbuilding is, well, how do you build a ship? Logic is the bits that you need to build a ship. In other words, if we're going to build a ship, you need this many bits of wood in this kind of shape, cut with this way, you need these tools. And rhetoric is putting it all together to create a functioning ship, or being able to speak the language and so on. And it's it's a methodology of teaching. So the Trivium series on the digital Kurganet is very, I think, very, 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 very much needed. I can't stress enough how needed it is. Vox recently made a post about, I don't know what he called it, very physics or voxy physics, I don't know, something, one of his words that he makes up. And, it's a good little summation that is done. But I'm thinking, well, that's kind of reinventing the wheel, because Catholicism worked for 2,000 years until it got infiltrated. It still works. Catholicism still works. It's just got infiltrated, and the Satanists, the Gnostics, the Freemasons tried to pervert it into something else, so that now people don't know that's not Catholicism for the most part. But again, the Trivium of Catholicism taught you a method of education that is applicable in the real world, and no one can deny it works. And that's the other thing, like, I know there's like a lot of philosophical guys are very theoretical. And one thing I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but I find like superfluous in Vox's like theories, the whole like, well, we have to know how, in his blog post, it was even worse. The guy who said, oh, well, the Enlightenment has failed, so now we have to find out how reality works. But before we can find out how reality works, we have to find out whether reality is real and all this shit. It takes 5 fucking minutes. Like, I understand people say, oh, but your senses see things slightly different from my senses. Yeah, but you know what? For 99.9999% of things on the planet, and anything that you will do in your miserable little life, it doesn't matter. Coffee tables exist. Walls exist. Oh, but maybe my senses are... Well, let me just grab your head and smack it into a wall. Yeah? Nobody volunteers for that shit. Why? Because that's objective reality. And leave it at that. And then if people are like, well, but that doesn't mean that my logical, thought experiment is the same as your logical... And it's like, yeah, you're right. It's not, because you're stupid and I'm smart. So my thought experiment works. Yours is bullshit, because you put in rhetoric in, you didn't do it dialectically, you didn't use maths, But when you're going to have him get into those kind of arguments, and people go, but I then have... And he's like, remind them of the wall. Remind them of the wall, remind them of the coffee table. You might not convince them, but you're going to win the argument. And if nothing else, they will stay away from you. And coffee tables, possibly. And that's all you want. At the end of the day, do I want to spend my life arguing for hours with an idiot that says, but is the magisterium of the church really infallible? Because, yes, it is. No, but I think we're going to burn you at the stake. Oh, okay, I guess it is then. That's right. You got it now, didn't you? And guess what? Civilization progresses. But if you let that fucking idiot reproduce and continue to spout bullshit, then it regresses, which is what's happened. So I hope that you agree with the Grand Inquisitor's way of looking at things. Have you read the banned Gospel of Judas? I've been finding out so many elements to the holy texts have been banned from the Bible. They're not necessarily holy texts. Greeny, quite a lot of that stuff that's not in the Bible, like the Gospel of Thomas and so on. Some of them may be like what is it? The useful, the Book of Enoch. That is legit. But a bunch of the other stuff is fraud, and it was fraud back then. So it's ancient fraud. So it was fraudulent, created by Gnostics. Now I'm not particularly sure about the Gospel of Judas or not, but the Gnostics back then created false gospels to try and infiltrate their satanic shit into the actual Bible and into Christianity, into Catholicism. So you got to be careful what you're reading about that stuff. Bridge beer one shit. I'm not sorry. I'm not sure if that's supposed to mean Brisht as in British, or if that's as in beer one shit as in, I don't know, somebody that shits BRs. I don't know what that is. So I'm not sure. But yeah, I agree. It's simple, efficient, and like you say, quite elegant. Coffee tables. Not just walls, walls works, but I'm a little bit of an elitist and obviously a very erudite person, so I moved to coffee tables. Even if they're glass ones, it's fine. They still don't volunteer for it. It works. So the stuff that's been banned from the Bible is the stuff that Luther banned. Luther ripped out a few books of the Bible because they didn't agree with him, and then he came up with sola scriptura. So it's really sola Martin Luther scriptura, not the Bible. So, but look again, unless you're one of these people that really gets into this stuff, just read the New Testament and just go by that. Better yet, if you're just a normal person, get a proper Catholic priest, an actual Catholic priest, not like the idiots on Social Galactic that, by the way, Chad, just, those old samurai movies or actually the mangas. It was really the mangas, but they did it in a couple of films as well, where you get this Ronin, the lone samurai without a daimyo, without a leader, who gets attacked or surrounded by enemies, and he just takes out his sword and puts his sword back in, and then his enemies just crumble into a bunch of stew cubes, That's basically what Chad did on Social Galactic to this idiot Bill, who was basically trying to argue. I think I made a post where I said, I was replying to two other guys. I specifically picked them out because they're a different thread. I started a new thread, and I said, well, what? Oh, there you go. Caleb puts it very well. Thanks for reminding me. Rodney Stark has a whole chapter on these banned books in bearing false witness. Exactly. Keep in mind, Rodney Stark is not a Catholic, but he's an honest man, and he basically calls out all the bullshit that's been said about Catholicism, including banned books and so on. But anyway, to get back to Chad, I made the statement a bit more lengthy than that, but I basically made the statement saying something like, "Oh, if you take the clot shot, you're not Christian," and that made people lose their fucking mind, didn't it? How can you say that to that? Well, you're not. You're not a Christian. If you're taking the fucking vaccine, the fake vaccine, you're not a Christian. You're not. First of all, and when I say that, I mean knowingly, right? Now, at this point, anyone who says, "Oh, but I didn't know it was built with baby parts," really? You're still not a Christian, because you're a lazy, ignorant fuckhead who can't be bothered to find out anything about anything. That is a sin. It's the sin of sloth. And it is a mortal sin, one of the 7 mortal sins. So you're going to hell, which means you're not a Christian. But I really don't think that applies to many people at this point. So you're taking the clot shot knowing it was developed by using aborted babies, and knowing that it has got all the other shit in it, which is essentially like euthanasia. You're not a Christian. But all the proties are like, how can you call a fellow Christian? How can you say? Well, first of all, Chad just went. I was busy. I didn't even read the whole thread until recently. Chad just went in there like, "Are you a Catholic?" The guy's like, "No, I'm Orthodox." So what the fuck are you bitching about? You're not a Christian anyway, as far as we're concerned. So it doesn't. Why are you saying, "Oh well, if you take the clot shot and you guys are saying you're not a Christian, I'm so sick of you Catholics telling us who and what is Christian." Yeah, we've been doing that for 2,000 years. We're not going to stop now. You are not a Christian. If you're not a Catholic, you're some pagan, schismatic, freak. You're not a Christian. And guess what? Even if you call yourself a Catholic, that doesn't mean you are. Especially if you're a Bergoglian Catholic. So this Orthodox goes on to say, well, but Father Rippengerger, he's not a Christian. So-called Father Rippengerger is not a Christian. He's a Satanist. He's a Freemason. He's a Novus Ordo. They're so fucking dumb. It's just like, And one of the most loyal henchmen said, hey, we should be on Gab. And I was. I actually had a pretty decent present on Gab. But then Vox had that whole fight with Torba, so I like killed it. And then, you know, now I'm on there, but I don't use it at all. I just don't have time. But basically one of the setters goes like, we've pacified Social Galactic. It's time to take over Gab. It's like, it's just, that was quite funny. I thought maybe we should do that. Yeah, Bridge says Usagi Yojimbo. Indeed, Yojimbo, one of the coolest films. And Dancer says Padre Gio and Ranger exist only to rally people against the Kurgan. They're not doing a very good job, are they? I mean, I rally more people against me than they do to build together. I mean, I've managed to get myself blocked by 31 people. I think I'm one of the top guys. Chad says, more like samurai with a bunch of watermelons. Indeed. Oh, that might be the wife coming back. The reason I did a quick short stream is because she just had to give me a break. She took the kids and went to grab a bunch of Chinese food. So we'll probably all be sick tonight, but you know, good chance to talk to you guys. Dancer says, I'm on Gab now. Already got 70 followers. Add me. Oh, I gotta find you. I think I'm called The Kurgan on there. Why don't you add me, and then when I next log in there, I'll which I don't know when that'll be, but thanks, Dancers. As usual, the High Priestess of the Kurgan cult is leading the way. Oh, yes, I hear little voices. I may have to go and stuff my face with like spicy prawns and spicy calamari. Yeah. Yes, I definitely hear little noises of little Vikings and monkeys running around and starting to squeal and wanting to eat. So thank you all for being here. It was a very impromptu and very short one. I might come back later if I'm up to it. I am pretty beat, to be honest, so I might just go to bed. But I aim to get the, you know, now that the internet's back up thanks to the wizard, I'll do streams a bit more regularly. And hopefully once the chaos dies down. But thank you all for being here. It's really nice to see Dances again, the High Priestess, forging new paths amongst the followers, enlarging my cult on Gab as well. Lovely. So yeah, thanks guys, and God bless and keep you all. Whatever you're working on, I hope it pans out. And remember, the digital Kurganate is there and it's going on, so sign up if you haven't yet, because you gotta, you know, keep supporting what you like, and that'll help me create the physical Kurganate. But tomorrow I'm having another interesting meeting where we're gonna figure out the amount of actual people money that we have to start the actual physical Kurganate, pretty much. So it's interesting days. Thanks for streaming. God bless you too, LS16. You're always here. I will, Greenie. I will take care. You too. Don't drink too much apple juice. You know, that stuff can give you like ulcers and shit. Good night all, and thank you very much.